When you find a recipe that calls for a simple syrup, do you panic? You don't have to, because it's super simple. I'll show you how.
Do you break into a sweat with even the thought of having company? I'm here to help. After trying just a few of my hosting tips, you'll be more than ready to say, come on over.
A simple syrup in the most simplest forms is water and sugar. You're just making a sugary addition to a drink, pretty much. So all you need is a 1-to-1 ratio. 1 cup of water, just plain old water. And you can, but you don't have to, get that water boiling before you add the sugar. If you do get it boiling before you add the sugar, it speeds it up a little bit, but right now, for the sake of this video, we're just gonna pour 1 cup of sugar into the pan. Now, you wanna whisk this sugar in the water until it comes to a boil, or almost a boil, because if you're going to add a 1/3 cup of something, like mint, that's your time to do it. So basically what we're doing is we're dissolving the sugar into the water. And so you end up just whisking and looking and whisking and looking until it's dissolved. It is that simple, it really is. And if you don't want a full cup of simple syrup, you can do a 1/2 cup of water and a 1/2 cup of sugar and a 1/2 cup of whatever you're adding to it. Because there are many different kinds of simple syrups. There are mint. You can do a sage mint, which we did recently, or it might have just been a sage lemon or a sage something. It wasn't a full cup of sage, I'll tell you that, because the sage leaf is very powerful. It is a very strong savory spice.
What is that amazing smell?
But mint, also strong, adds a different element to the syrup. And so if you're making, let's say, a martini, and it's a juice martini, so it's a sweeter martini, adding a bit of mint simple syrup to it really adds a depth of flavor. We use the mint simple syrup in our Jimmy Martini, which we did a video of, and we'll link it down below. Perhaps one of our most requested cocktails is a martini called the Jimmy. You know when it's ready to boil because it gets those little bubbles at the top that tells you, I'm about to boil, I'm fixin' to boil, as they'd say in the South.
I'm fixing to lose my religion.
And when it gets to that point, you can add your other elements. So when you see a drink recipe or any other, usually a beverage recipe, not necessarily alcoholic, it could be a mocktail too, not an alcoholic beverage, and it calls for a simple syrup, and that's all you see, that's when you know it's just the water and the sugar, nothing else. But if it calls for a mint simple syrup or some other spice, cinnamon simple syrup or lemon simple syrup, you'll definitely want to look that up because the ratio may not be 1-to-1-to-1. Your simple part will, but the second part will not. This is where we need elevator music.
Boil!
I want to watch you boil. I can't do it with you watching.
Now, I don't know if you can see down in here, but there are bubbles around the edge. It's about to boil. So I'm going to take my cup of mint leaves. Now, I just got them in the little container from the grocery store. If you have a mint plant, now's your time to raid that plant. And all I did was I took the leaves off the stems and I'm just putting it right in here. And now, because it's getting ready to boil, I am going to set my timer for 1 minute and let it boil. And start.
Start your engines!
Now turn it down just a bit as it boils. You can see the little leaves getting stuck. Irritating. We got a clinger! We got a Klingon!
Do you mind a little constructive criticism?
No, sir. I mean that we are similar as a species.
And we're ready. Okay, at this point, you turn it off. And what you're going to do is you're going to let it steep until it cools. We won't make you hang with us for all that time, but when we get to the point where we think it's cool enough, I'll show you the next step.
One eternity later.
And now we're down to our final step, which is getting the simple syrup into a simple jar. This is just a little mason jar. You could have jars left over from mayonnaise or whatever you have available. You've taken off the label. Anything works as long as you can seal it and put it into your refrigerator. Now, if this were just a simple syrup, the simplest of simple syrups, just the water and the sugar, you wouldn't need to strain it or in any way be careful. But since I have mint in here, what I need to do at this point is make sure that no mint leaves get in there. So I've got my handy little strainer here, and I've got a funnel going, and I wanted to make sure that this simple syrup was not so hot that it would crack the glass in my jar. And I'm being, particularly careful here. Here's a piece of mint. I'll open this up so you can see it. See, it's caught right there. You don't want that to sit in your syrup because it will eventually turn bad in your syrup, and you don't want that. Fingers crossed, I don't have a giant spill, and here we go. Now you can see this is gonna hold a pint or so of this beautiful mint simple syrup. The longer you let the mint steep in this water, the stronger the mint flavor. And you might not want your simple syrup to be that minty. We love it to be this minty, and we use it for new cocktails all the time. All right, so it is now strained, it is now funneled, and all I have to do at this point is put on the lid. It's going to seal tightly because that's what it does.
I've never met a jar I couldn't open. Thing's like
Silly.
glued. But this one feels like it was put on with concrete.
And I don't have to really label this. It's the color of a funky green, a yellow green. We know this is the mint simple syrup. I might put the date on it, stick it in the refrigerator, and it's ready to go. So as you can tell, other than a little bit of time waiting to boil and waiting to cool, it could not be simpler. You might be thinking, is this a urine sample? No, it's a mint simple syrup. Follow the recipe below and watch away. Watch away.
Come on over. Now go make someone feel special today.